They gathered in my living room, laughing as they divided my savings. "She can't afford a lawyer," my son-in-law remarked with a smirk. "Just drain it all." What they did not realize was that I had already made a single phone call. By sunrise, their accounts were frozen. When my phone began ringing incessantly, I allowed every call to go to voicemail. My name is Diane, and I am 72 years old. Before I share my story, I would like to know where you are watching from. Please leave your city and state in the comments. I enjoy seeing how far my stories reach. Now settle in, as what I am about to share will demonstrate that age does not equate to weakness, and silence does not imply surrender. I spent 43 years as a registered nurse at St. Michael's Hospital in Philadelphia. My husband Paul and I raised 3 children in a modest 2-story house in the suburbs, the kind with a front porch where we would sit on summer evenings watching the neighborhood children play. Paul was a contractor, and together we built a comfortable life, secure, though not wealthy. We saved diligently and invested modestly in CDs and bonds, avoiding anything extravagant. We were the couple who brought casseroles to sick neighbors and never missed a school play or baseball game. When Paul passed away 6 years ago from a sudden heart attack, it felt as though the ground had opened beneath me. One morning, he was laughing over coffee, sharing tales of a difficult client, and by afternoon, he was gone. 46 years of marriage concluded in a hospital corridor, while a young doctor struggled to express condolences. It struck me as odd that I had worked in that very hospital for years, delivering that same speech to countless families, and now I was on the receiving end. The grief was overwhelming. However, I am not one to crumble completely. My mother instilled in me the belief that falling apart was a luxury we could not afford. So I grieved privately, adjusting to the silence of an empty house while continuing to live. I had Paul's life insurance, our retirement savings, and the house had been paid off years prior. Financially, I was stable. Emotionally, I was managing. My daughter, Jennifer, had always been my middle child, the one who seemed to require extra attention. She had endured 2 challenging divorces before meeting Craig, and I was genuinely pleased when she remarried 8 years ago. Craig appeared successful, working in finance, driving a nice car, and wearing expensive suits. At family dinners, he spoke confidently about market trends and investment portfolios, making him seem knowledgeable. I never fully understood his actual role. Whenever I inquired about specifics, he would dismiss my questions, saying things like, "I manage diversified asset portfolios for high net worth individuals." It sounded impressive, and I assumed it indicated he excelled at his job. After Paul's death, Jennifer began calling more frequently. Initially, I welcomed it. A widow needs her family and connection. She would visit on weekends, bringing takeout and assisting me in organizing Paul's belongings. It felt as if we were growing closer. I should have been more attentive to the questions she asked. How much did Dad leave you? Where do you store important documents? Have you considered updating your will? About 2 years ago, while having coffee at my kitchen table, Jennifer approached the topic more directly. "Mom, you really need to get your affairs in order. You're not getting any younger, and if something happened to you, we would have no idea how to manage your finances." The logic seemed sound. At 70, I was recently widowed, and yes, something could happen. So when she suggested meeting with an attorney Craig knew, I agreed. The attorney's name was Richard Holloway, and his office was located in a strip mall near the highway, which should have raised my suspicions. Successful attorneys typically do not practice between a nail salon and a tax preparation service. Richard was smooth, likely in his late 50s, with bright white teeth and a golf tan. He greeted Craig as an old friend, exchanging backslaps and inside jokes. The meeting progressed rapidly. Richard presented me with stack after stack of documents: power of attorney forms, healthcare directives, updated beneficiary designations. He explained each document in rapid-fire legal jargon that left me bewildered. "Mrs. Patterson, this durable power of attorney simply allows Jennifer and Craig to help manage your finances if you become incapacitated," he said, sliding the paper across his desk. "Standard estate planning. You would want someone you trust handling matters if, God forbid, you had a stroke or developed dementia." When I attempted to slow down and read more carefully, he patted my hand condescendingly. I know legal language can be confusing. That's why you have family here to help. This is all for your protection. Craig nodded vigorously. Diane, we just want to ensure you're taken care of. That's all this is. I signed everything. In retrospect, I can see how skillfully they manipulated the situation. They made me feel that asking questions indicated a lack of trust in my own daughter. They made me feel foolish for not comprehending legal terminology. They made me feel that protecting myself was somehow an insult to family loyalty. For the next year, life continued as normal. I volunteered at St. Luke's Church, organizing the food pantry every Tuesday. I met my friend Martha for lunch at the diner every Thursday. I tended to my garden, and Paul's roses finally thrived after years of struggle. Jennifer and Craig visited regularly, always inquiring about my health and whether I needed assistance with anything. Their concerns seemed genuine, and I felt grateful to have a daughter who cared. Then, about 6 months ago, something compelled me to examine my bank statement more carefully than usual. I cannot recall what triggered it. Perhaps just a nurse's instinct that something was amiss. That was when I discovered small withdrawals that I had not authorized. $500 here, $800 there, $1,200 the month prior. Nothing dramatic enough to raise immediate alarm, but consistent enough to form a pattern. The next morning, I called the bank, my hands trembling as I dialed. The customer service representative reviewed my account. Yes, Mrs. Patterson, I see those transactions. They were authorized through a power of attorney. Your son-in-law, Craig Brennan, initiated them. My throat went dry. I had not authorized any withdrawals. According to our records, Mr. Brennan has durable power of attorney over your accounts. Those documents were filed with us 14 months ago. 14 months. Right after that meeting with Richard Holloway, I confronted Jennifer the next time she visited, which happened to be that same afternoon. She had called, stating she was just stopping by to check on me. She arrived with bakery cookies and a bright smile that now appeared predatory. Sweetheart, I need to talk to you about something, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I'm noticing withdrawals from my accounts that I didn't make. Do you know anything about this? She barely glanced up from her phone, scrolling through something with apparent disinterest. Oh, Mom, don't worry about that. Craig's been helping manage your investments, moving money around to optimize your portfolio. You signed the papers. Remember, you gave us permission. The casual dismissal in her voice felt like a slap. This was not my attentive, concerned daughter. This was someone annoyed by the need to explain herself. Jennifer, I granted permission for assistance if I became incapacitated. I am not incapacitated. I am fully capable of managing my own finances. At that moment, Craig entered from the kitchen, carrying a glass of my iced tea as if he owned the place. His expression was harder than I had ever seen, devoid of the usual warmth. Diane, let's be real here. You're 72 years old. No offense, but you're not exactly sharp enough anymore to handle complex financial matters. Jennifer and I are protecting you from yourself, from making poor decisions. You should be grateful we're taking this burden off your shoulders. Grateful. That word landed heavily in my stomach. They expected gratitude for stealing from me. I did not argue. Over 7 decades of life, I have learned that sometimes the smartest response is no response. Let people underestimate you. Let them think their manipulation has succeeded. I nodded vaguely, feigning confusion, and murmured something about forgetting things lately. I saw relief flash across Craig's face. Jennifer relaxed back into her phone. They believed they had won. They thought I was just another confused elderly woman who would accept whatever they told me. They had no idea who they were dealing with. The moment their car left my driveway, I grabbed my purse and keys and drove straight to my bank. My hands trembled so violently I could barely grip the steering wheel. The branch manager, Patricia Chen, a kind woman who had assisted me in refinancing my mortgage years ago, noticed my distress and immediately ushered me into her office. Mrs. Patterson, what's wrong? I need to see all my accounts, everything, every transaction for the past 2 years. Patricia's fingers flew across her keyboard, and then her face went pale. Oh my God, she turned the monitor toward me. The spreadsheet displayed withdrawal after withdrawal after withdrawal. They had begun small, $30,500, but had grown bolder. Recent withdrawals were $2,350, $4,000, all authorized by Craig's power of attorney, all transferred to accounts in his name. How much total? I whispered. Patricia's voice was gentle. Mrs. Patterson, over the past 14 months, there have been withdrawals totaling $87,430. The room tilted. 87,000, almost 90,000. That represented most of what Paul and I had saved over 4 decades. That was my security, my independence, my future. Patricia, I said, striving to keep my voice steady, I never approved this. This is theft. Her expression was pained. I understand, I do. But according to our records and the legal documents on file, your son-in-law has durable power of attorney. Under banking law, these withdrawals are technically legal. If you wish to contest this, you will need to prove he is acting against your interests or misusing his authority, and that requires a lawyer. I finished bitterly. An expensive lawyer. She nodded. I'm so sorry. If there's anything else I can do, there wasn't. Not really. I thanked her and left, sitting in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes, trying to process what had occurred. My own daughter, the child I had carried for 9 months, nursed through colic, taught to ride a bike, supported through every hardship, was systematically and deliberately stealing from me. That evening, my phone rang. Jennifer's cheerful voice came through, so sweet it made me nauseous. Hey, Mom, just checking in. How was your day? Fine, I replied flatly. Good, good. Listen, Craig and I have been discussing the house. It's a lot for you to maintain, the yard work, repairs, property taxes. We think it might be time to consider downsizing. Selling the house could fund your care in a nice assisted living facility, and you wouldn't have to worry about anything. My house, the home literally built with his own hands, board by board. The place where we raised 3 children, celebrated Christmas mornings, hosted graduation parties and birthday dinners. A house filled with 40 years of memories in every corner. I'm not interested in selling, I said, my voice firm. There was a pause, then I heard Craig in the background, his voice muffled but clear enough. Just keep pushing. She'll cave eventually. They all do. How many elderly people had they done this to? Was I just another target? That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to sleep. Paul's picture sat on my nightstand, his smile forever frozen at age 66, before the heart attack stole him from me. What would Paul do in this situation? He would fight. Paul never backed down from injustice. He never let anyone push him around. He stood up to corrupt building inspectors, dishonest suppliers, and clients who tried to cheat him. He fought for what was right. I had to do the same. The next morning, I called Martha. We had been nurses together for 30 years, and if there was anyone I trusted completely, it was her. I shared everything, the power of attorney, the withdrawals, Jennifer's betrayal. My voice broke several times, but I persevered. Martha remained silent for a moment before saying, Diane, my nephew Thomas is a partner at Keller Morrison and Associates. They are one of the best firms in Pennsylvania. I'm calling him right now. Martha, I can't afford. You can't afford not to. Trust me. Let me make the call. 2 days later, I found myself in a gleaming conference room, 40 stories above downtown Philadelphia. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, and the furniture likely cost more than my car. Thomas Keller, about 45 years old, with sharp eyes and a calm, controlled presence, listened to my entire story without interruption, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he set down his pen and looked at me directly. Mrs. Patterson, what has been done to you is called financial exploitation of an elderly person. In Pennsylvania, it is not merely a civil matter, it is a crime. You could pursue criminal charges if you choose. More importantly, what your daughter and son-in-law have done is morally reprehensible. However, you must understand that stopping this and recovering your money will require aggressive legal action, swift, decisive, and costly. My retainer is $15,000, and that is just a starting point. $15,000. With $87,000 already stolen, I had perhaps $40,000 left in accessible accounts. Thomas must have noticed my expression because he raised his hand. Let me finish. Given the clear evidence of exploitation and the strong likelihood of not only recovering your funds but also obtaining significant damages, I am willing to work on a modified contingency arrangement. You pay half the retainer now, $7,500. We pursue full restitution of every penny they took, plus damages, plus all my legal fees. When we win, and Mrs. Patterson, I assure you, we will win, Craig and Jennifer will cover every expense, every hour I bill, every court filing, every cent of your stolen money, along with penalties for elder abuse. When we win. Those 3 words changed everything. What do I need to do? I asked. Write me a check for $7,500. Then go home and do not contact your daughter or Craig. Do not answer their calls. Do not respond to texts. Let them think everything is fine. Meanwhile, my team will move so quickly they won't know what hit them. I wrote the check that afternoon with trembling hands. It was a significant risk, half of what I had left. But something in Thomas's eyes assured me that he meant what he said. He was going to win. Over the next 3 days, Thomas and his team operated with military precision. They subpoenaed bank records, interviewed Patricia at my bank, obtained my medical records to demonstrate that I had no cognitive impairments, and filed an emergency petition with the Philadelphia County Court of Common Pleas. The petition requested the immediate revocation of Craig's power of attorney, a freeze on all accounts that had received funds from my accounts, and a temporary restraining order to prevent further transfers. The key, Thomas explained during one of our meetings, was proving that the power of attorney was never intended for their enrichment. It is a fiduciary duty. They were required to act solely in your best interests. Every withdrawal must benefit you, and we will demonstrate that not a single cent did. His investigators uncovered that Craig had used my money to lease a BMW, fund a Hawaiian vacation, and pay for extensive home renovations, all documented through credit card statements and bank records. It was also revealed that Jennifer had been quietly billing her personal expenses to accounts Craig controlled under my name. The court hearing was scheduled for the following Tuesday at 10 a.m. Thomas advised me firmly, do not tell them anything. Do not warn them. They will find out when the sheriff serves them papers. That happened on Monday night. I know this because my phone began ringing at 6:17 Tuesday morning. Jennifer, then Craig, then Jennifer again, followed by 3 more calls in rapid succession. Each call went to voicemail, and I listened to none of them. By 8 a.m., I had received 15 calls and a dozen text messages. The texts grew increasingly desperate. Mom, we need to talk right now. Please answer your phone. This is serious. I can't believe you're doing this to your own daughter. I deleted all without responding. That morning, I dressed in my best navy blue suit, the one I had worn to Paul's funeral 6 years ago. I adorned myself with pearl earrings, donned low heels, and styled my hair neatly. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She appeared strong, determined, and unbreakable. Thomas met me in the courthouse lobby at 9:30. Ready? He asked. I've never been more prepared for anything in my life. We entered the courtroom together. Jennifer and Craig were already present, seated next to Richard Holloway and another attorney I did not recognize. The moment Jennifer saw me, her face drained of color. Craig's jaw tightened, his hands clenching into fists on the table. The judge, the Honorable Patricia Morrison, was a woman in her mid-60s with steel gray hair and keen eyes that missed nothing. She called the hearing to order and asked Thomas to present his petition. What followed was a systematic dismantling. Thomas laid out the evidence methodically. Bank statements revealing $87,000 in withdrawals, documentation confirming my full competence, medical records, and testimony from my doctor asserting I had no cognitive impairments whatsoever. Character witnesses, arranged by Martha, included 2 former colleagues who testified about my sharp mind and excellent recall. Then he revealed where the money had gone. Screenshots of Craig's BMW lease agreement with a monthly payment of $2,200 funded from my accounts. Hotel and airfare receipts for a Hawaiian vacation, totaling $12,000 charged to a credit card paid from my funds. Contractor invoices for home renovations at Craig and Jennifer's house, totaling $34,000 withdrawn directly from my savings. Your Honor, Thomas stated, his voice resonating in the courtroom, not a single withdrawal benefited Mrs. Patterson. Not one. This was theft disguised as financial management. Richard Holloway attempted to defend his clients, stammering through explanations about investment strategies and protective reallocation of assets. Thomas dismantled every argument with documentation. "Mr. Holloway," Judge Morrison interrupted, her tone icy, "I have reviewed these transfers extensively. Money flowed directly from Mrs. Patterson's accounts to your client's personal accounts. It funded luxury vehicles, vacations, and home improvements. I do not see a single transaction that could remotely be construed as acting in Mrs. Patterson's best interests. Can you identify even one?" Richard had no response. Judge Morrison then turned her attention to Craig. "Mr. Brennan, you held a position of profound trust. Power of attorney is not a license to enrich yourself. Did you genuinely believe you were acting in Mrs. Patterson's best interests when you used her money to lease a luxury car?" Craig's face flushed red. "Your Honor, my mother-in-law is elderly. She doesn't understand modern finance." "I understand perfectly well," I interjected, the words escaping before I could stop them. The courtroom fell silent. Judge Morrison nodded at me. "Please continue, Mrs. Patterson." I stood slowly, Thomas by my side. "Your Honor, I spent 43 years as a registered nurse. I managed complex patient care, calculated medication dosages, and made life and death decisions daily. I raised 3 children, managed a household budget, and worked full-time for 4 decades. My husband and I saved every penny of that money through careful planning and sacrifice. My mind is sharp. I am not confused. I am not senile. What my daughter and her husband did was not protection or assistance. It was theft. Pure and simple theft. They believed I was too old, too frail, or too scared to stop them. If this story resonates with you, if you believe people deserve to stand up for themselves regardless of age, please hit that subscribe button now. I share these stories because we need to remind each other and the world that being older does not mean being powerless. We have voices, we have rights, and we will not be victims. Judge Morrison studied me for an extended moment before reviewing her notes. She then addressed Craig and Jennifer, making her ruling from the bench. "I am granting the emergency petition in its entirety. Mr. Brennan's power of attorney is immediately and permanently revoked. All accounts remain frozen pending a complete forensic accounting of where Mrs. Patterson's funds were allocated. Mr. Brennan and Mrs. Brennan are hereby ordered to appear for depositions within 14 days. Furthermore, I am ordering both defendants to show cause why they should not be held in contempt and why I should not refer this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution under Pennsylvania's elder abuse statutes." Criminal prosecution. Prison. Craig's face paled. Jennifer began to cry. Judge Morrison was not finished. "Mrs. Patterson, you also have the right to pursue civil damages for emotional distress, breach of fiduciary duty, and financial exploitation. I encourage you to do so. This court does not tolerate individuals who prey on their own family members." As we exited the courtroom, Jennifer attempted to approach me, her face streaked with tears. "Mom, please, we can work this out. We can talk." Thomas smoothly intervened, stepping between us. "Any and all communication must go through my office. If you contact my client directly, I will file for additional restraining orders." Outside the courthouse, the crisp autumn air filled my lungs as I took the deepest breath I had taken in months. I could finally breathe again. Over the following month, Thomas's team continued to demonstrate their expertise. The depositions revealed everything. Craig had hidden gambling debts from Jennifer. The Hawaiian trip, the BMW, the renovations, all funded by my money. Jennifer had known, but had convinced herself it was justified because I would eventually leave her everything anyway. That logic, the stunning, entitled sociopathic rationale, broke something within me that could not be repaired. However, Thomas was not interested in my emotional pain. He was focused on complete and total victory. He negotiated with Craig and Jennifer's attorneys, making it abundantly clear that if they did not settle immediately and in full, he would pursue criminal charges. In Pennsylvania, elder abuse carries a potential prison sentence of up to 7 years. Faced with the possibility of prison time, they crumbled. Within 6 weeks, every single penny was returned to my accounts, along with $53,000 in damages, interest, and penalties. Thomas had insisted on substantial damages. "They need to feel this," he told me during negotiations. "They must understand there are consequences, otherwise they will do it to someone else." The settlement funds appeared in my account on a Thursday morning in late October. I was drinking coffee at my kitchen table when Patricia from the bank called to confirm the wire transfer. Mrs. Patterson, I wanted to personally inform you that $140,000 has just cleared into your account. Everything they took, everything they spent, plus damages, it's all there. And $140,000. My money, my security, my future restored. I immediately called Thomas. How did you manage to make them pay so much? He chuckled, genuinely pleased. I told them the alternative was Craig going to prison and Jennifer losing her nursing license. Yes, we discovered she had been skimming from her employer as well, billing personal expenses to hospital accounts. The Pennsylvania Board of Nursing does not look kindly on that. Faced with the potential of both of them going to prison and losing their careers, they suddenly found money they claimed did not exist. Craig's parents took out a second mortgage and they liquidated retirement accounts. They will be paying this off for at least 10 years. Good, I thought savagely. Let them understand what it feels like to have one's financial security ripped away. The final piece of the puzzle involved securing my house and remaining assets. Thomas had the original power of attorney documents evaluated by an independent legal ethics expert. That expert testified that Richard Holloway had violated multiple professional responsibility rules by drafting documents designed to benefit Craig rather than protect me. Richard Holloway lost his law license 3 months later. As for my estate planning, Thomas's firm drafted entirely new documents, ironclad, unbreakable documents that left specific bequests to my son Michael, my daughter Susan, and several charities I care about. Jennifer's name appears nowhere in my will now. Not as a beneficiary, not as an executor, nowhere. She made her choice. I made mine. I have not spoken to Jennifer since that court hearing 7 months ago. She has tried everything, calling, texting, showing up at my house unannounced, even having Craig's mother plead their case. Thomas sent a formal cease and desist letter. Some relationships cannot be repaired. Some betrayals cut too deeply to heal. My other children, Michael and Susan, were horrified when they learned what had transpired. Michael flew in from Colorado immediately, and Susan drove up from Virginia. Both have been checking in regularly, helping me feel less isolated. However, I have made it clear that I do not need managing or monitoring. I am fine on my own. I do not need protection. What I needed was justice, and I achieved that. 3 months after everything was settled, Martha and I enjoyed lunch at our favorite bistro, a charming Italian place downtown where they know our orders by heart. She raised her glass of iced tea toward me, her eyes shining with pride. To Diane Patterson, she said, the woman who proved that 72 simply means you've had 7 decades to learn how to fight. I clinked my glass against hers, refusing to be a victim, and to being gloriously, magnificently vindictive when necessary, Martha added with a grin. I laughed, genuinely laughed, for the first time in months. As I drove home that afternoon, past trees ablaze with autumn gold and crimson, I thought of Paul. I could almost feel him in the passenger seat, that solid presence I had loved for 46 years. I could almost hear his voice. That's my Diane. I knew you had it in you. It just took the right push to bring it out. He would have been proud. Indeed, I was proud of myself. My life now resembles what it did before all this occurred. Quiet, simple, filled with church activities, gardening, and lunches with friends. I continue to volunteer at the food pantry every Tuesday, tend to Paul's thriving roses, and enjoy morning coffee on my front porch, watching the neighborhood come alive. Yet I carry myself differently now. There is a newfound strength within me, forged in the fire of betrayal and solidified by the fight for justice. When people look at me, they no longer see merely a sweet elderly woman. They see someone who fought back and won. They see someone you do not want to cross. The money is securely in my accounts now, managed by a fiduciary financial advisor recommended by Thomas, someone with actual credentials, legal obligations, and oversight. My house is mine, secured by legal documents that cannot be twisted or manipulated. Most importantly, I have regained my dignity, self-respect, and power. As far as I know, Craig and Jennifer remain together. I learned through Michael that they are struggling financially. Craig's parents barely speak to them. The weight of their actions, the criminal investigation narrowly avoided, the professional repercussions, and the family rupture they caused have begun to take their toll. Their marriage is reportedly strained. Craig apparently blames Jennifer for not controlling me, while Jennifer blames Craig for the gambling debts that initiated this entire ordeal. I do not take pleasure in their suffering, but I do not regret causing it either. Actions have consequences. This is not cruelty or revenge, it is justice. It is the natural order of things being restored. Sometimes, late at night, when the house is quiet, I wonder if Jennifer ever reflects on what she sacrificed, not the money or the inheritance, which are merely material possessions, but the relationship. She had a mother who loved her unconditionally, who would have supported her financially had she simply been honest about Craig's gambling problems, who would have been there for her through any difficulty. Instead, she chose deception, theft, and to view me as a resource to be exploited rather than a person to be valued. That was her deliberate choice, made repeatedly over 14 months. My choice was to stop her, to fight back, and to refuse to be anyone's victim. The phone continues to sit on my kitchen counter. 7 months of silence from Jennifer. Occasionally, late at night, I ponder whether I should feel guilty about that silence. Mother-daughter relationships are supposed to be eternal, right? But then I recall sitting in that bank with Patricia, staring at $87,000 in unauthorized withdrawals. I remember Craig's smug face telling me I should be grateful they were stealing from me. I recall Jennifer's cold dismissal when I confronted her. No, I do not feel guilty. I feel free. If you are watching this and have experienced something similar, whether from family members, friends, caretakers, or anyone else who believed your age made you an easy target, please hear me clearly. You are not powerless. You are not too old to fight back. You are not obligated to accept mistreatment simply because it comes from people you love or those who claim to care about you. Seek help. Find a lawyer, a legitimate one, not some strip mall attorney connected to the individuals exploiting you. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And never allow anyone to convince you that protecting yourself is selfish, mean, or a betrayal of family loyalty. Taking care of yourself is not selfish. It is survival. I am 72 years old. I have buried a husband I loved more than life itself. I have raised 3 children, 2 who turned out wonderfully and 1 who broke my heart. I have worked for 4 decades in a demanding profession. I have survived a betrayal that could have destroyed me financially, emotionally, and spiritually. But here I am, still standing, still strong, still fighting, and absolutely refusing to be anyone's victim. More than the recovered money, more than the legal victory, more than anything else, that is what matters. I did not just regain my money, I reclaimed myself. The version of me I had forgotten existed, the fighter, the survivor, the woman who refuses to conform to anyone's perception of what an elderly woman should be. And that is the true victory. Please subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video with love and respect.